Hello everyone and welcome to my class. Today we're going to do something a little different. Instead of talking about one particular philosopher, or even one particular branch of philosophy, we're going to look at the entire history of philosophy in just under 10 minutes. The main concern of these philosophers was the origin or the causes of things. What is the world made of? Why do things happen the way they do? And what is the nature of reality? Their answers were quite diverse. The rise of empires and the increasing complexity of society led to new concerns and questions. Epicurus, a Greek philosopher, founded a school of thought known as Epicureanism, which taught that pleasure was the ultimate good and that avoiding pain was the ultimate value. Stoicism was another prominent school of thought during this period, founded by Zeno of Citium. Stoics believed that virtue was the sole good, and that one should accept whatever happens with equanimity. Rationalists like René Descartes and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz believed that reason was the chief source of knowledge, while empiricists like John Locke and David Hume argued that experience was the ultimate source. Idealists like George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel and his student Karl Marx argued that ideas and the human consciousness were the fundamental reality. Analytic philosophy, which had its roots in the work of Gottlob Frege and the Vienna Circle, emphasized the importance of clarity, rigor, and logical precision in philosophical analysis. Continental philosophy, on the other hand, was influenced by the work of existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, as well as the historical context of World War and the Holocaust. Materialists, on the other hand, like John Stuart Mill and Friedrich Engels, argued that material conditions and economic forces were the primary drivers of history and society. This debate between rationalism and empiricism continues to influence philosophical discussions today. Both Epicureanism and Stoicism were ultimately forms of therapy to deal with the anxieties brought on by living in an ever more complex and chaotic world. There's obviously a lot more that could be said about each of these periods and movements, but hopefully this gives you a good overview of the major developments in philosophical thought from the ancient Greeks to the present day. Thanks for watching. Some, like Thales, said that water was the fundamental substance from which everything was made. Marcus Aurelius, the last emperor of the Antonine dynasty, wrote Meditations, a personal journal that has become one of the most influential works of Stoic philosophy. Others, like Pythagoras, thought that it was numbers. But regardless of their answers, these thinkers are important, however. Some Muslim and Jewish philosophers made significant contributions to the study of logic and metaphysics. This period saw the rise of humanism, which emphasized the importance of human reason and the potential for human progress. Philosophers like Niccolò Machiavelli and Thomas More offered critiques of the current state of society and proposed alternative visions of the good life. In the 12th century, Averroes, a Muslim philosopher, wrote a commentary on Aristotle's works that had a profound impact on later Christian thinkers, because they were the first to attempt to explain the world without appealing to mythology or the gods. They were also some of the first to use logos or reason to understand the world. This marked a significant departure from the more superstitious and mythological explanations that had dominated earlier civilizations. So let's begin. Socrates was the first to focus on ethics, or the questions of how we ought to live. He believed that the unexamined life was not worth living and urged his students to examine their beliefs and values. Socrates was eventually put to death by the Athenian government for impiety and corrupting the youth. His student Plato then created an academy where he and his students discussed various philosophical topics, including ethics, metaphysics, and epistemology. Plato is perhaps best known for his theory of forms, which is an abstract perfect realm that is eternal and unchanging. He also wrote The Republic, which is a dialogue on justice in the ideal society. Aristotle, Plato's student, disagreed with some of his teacher's views. He founded his own school, called the Lyceum, and wrote extensively on a variety of subjects, including logic, physics, and ethics. Aristotle is considered to be the first great systematic philosopher, and his work had a profound influence on later thinkers. The earliest record of philosophical thought can be found in ancient Greece around 600 BCE with the pre-Socratics. The next period of ancient philosophy is associated with Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, three philosophers from Athens. After the death of Aristotle, philosophy saw a decline during the Hellenistic period. During the Roman Empire, philosophy continued to flourish. The Romans adapted Greek philosophy to their own culture and produced several notable philosophers themselves. In the Middle Ages, philosophy took a backseat to theology as the dominant intellectual force. During the Renaissance, there was a renewed interest in classical philosophy, and the works of ancient Greek and Roman philosophers were rediscovered and studied. In the 17th century, Rationalism and Empiricism emerged as dominant schools of thought. The 19th century saw the rise of idealism and materialism as two opposing ways of understanding the world. In the 20th century, analytic and continental philosophy emerged as two distinct but related enterprises. So that's a very quick history of Western philosophy.